let's get right to that Fox News alert. A state of emergency in the state of North Carolina. The National Guard rolling into Charlotte right now as a second night of riots turn violent.
Last night, look at that. 4 police officers were hurt as nearly 1,000 rioters took to the streets, throwing fireworks, looting stores, and blocking traffic. At one point, those rioters tried to throw a reporter into a bonfire. Police intervening to save the man.
Well, good.
Wow.
But one protester is on life support this morning. Police say that he was shot by another civilian. All of this chaos unfolding after this black police officer, Brantley Vincent, shot and killed 43-year-old Keith Lamont Scott.
Now, police say they warned Scott to drop the gun that he had. His family says he didn't have a gun. He was not armed, and they're speaking out against the police.
Just know that all white people are devils.
And make sure you air that one.
Air that.
Don't take that
All
one.
white cops are devils and white people.
Officer Vincent is now on administrative leave, so a lot of tensions and certainly a lot coming out of that incident.
Absolutely. All right. So that's what's going on down there. 2 minutes after the top of the hour, let's bring in Donald Trump. He's running for president of the United States. He's got a debate in a couple of nights, but he joins us live from somewhere in his empire. Good morning to you, Mr. Trump.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So as you look at what's happened overnight and happened the night before down in Charlotte, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's wow. Here we go again. It's very sad. When you look at what's going on, it's very sad. It's very divided, our country, and it's getting worse. So I'm not overly surprised to see it, but it's happening.
Why do you think it's getting worse?
It just seems that there's a lack of spirit between the white and the black. I mean, it's a terrible thing that we're witnessing. You're seeing it. Well, I'm seeing it, and you look at what went on last night in Charlotte, a great place, and you just see it. There's somewhat, and I see it even going out. There's such a lack of spirit. There's a lack of something. Something's going on that's bad, and what's going on between police and others is getting worse.
Mr. Trump, what would the message be of a President Trump to these rioters, to the anti-police protesters?
Well, it really has to be. You have to have law and order. At the same time, Pete, you have to have a certain spirit, a certain unity, and there's no unity. You look at the level of hatred, the rocks being thrown and everything happening. It's so sad to see, that this is the United States of America. I mean, it's so sad to see, but there's just no unity. There has to be a unity message somehow that has to get out, and it starts with leadership.
You know what, Mr. Trump, don't you think there needs to be a dialogue between the police and the community that they help keep the laws in? You can't just roll up when there's trouble. You got to have a dialogue with the folks every day.
Well, that's true, but if you look at Dallas, there was a dialogue. They prided themselves on dialogue, and they were constantly talking and meeting and having community groups, and that was a pretty rough situation, to put it mildly, a terrible, terrible situation. And, so that sounds good, it sounds right, but there's something deeper than that.
I was glad to know that you had a dialogue with hundreds of African-American community leaders. You had that yesterday. It was supposed to air last night, and then for Hannity for the town hall. Hannity didn't end up airing that because he was live on his show for 2 hours last night, so it's going to air tonight. We're all looking forward to seeing that. But what was that dialogue like? Because it's important for, it's easy for us to say what we need to do as white individuals. We're sitting on this couch. But what does the black community want from the white community? How can we work together as a country?
Well, we went to Cleveland, and it was really beautiful. Pastor Darrell Scott, who's a great guy, and his church. And we had a tremendous group of people there. It was amazing. And that's right. It's going to be, I guess, on Hannity tonight. It was going to be last night.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, this preempted it. But we had an amazing couple of hours that we spent. And I'll tell you what, something can happen, and it can happen fast, and it can happen that's very good. But right now, it's not taking place. There was great love in that room yesterday, and you know, you see pictures of it. You see it right now on the show. There was a tremendous feeling in that room. I mean, something can happen with the right leadership.
I know. I read a report that apparently there in that black church in Cleveland, you were asked what you would do about black-on-black crime, and you said maybe it's time to bring back stop and frisk.
Right.
And I saw that you sent out a tweet. Stop and frisk works. Instead of criticizing New York Police Chief Ray Kelly, New Yorkers should thank him for keeping New York safe. Why do you think stop and frisk would work?
Well, Ray Kelly did a great job, and New York was not in a Chicago situation, but it was really in trouble. It was in bad shape crime-wise, and with all of the shootings and everything. And Rudy Giuliani did a great job as mayor, and they really straightened things out with stop and frisk, and it was used further by the next mayor, Bloomberg, and now they just, recently, not so recently, but fairly recently, they stopped it. But stop and frisk worked. We had tremendous shootings, numbers of shootings. Now, Chicago is out of control. And I was really referring to Chicago with stop and frisk. They asked me about Chicago, and I was talking about stop and frisk for Chicago, and where you had 3,000 shootings so far this year. 3,000 from January 1st. And obviously, you can't let the system go the way it's going. But I suggested stop and frisk. And some people think that's a great idea, and some people probably don't like it. But when you have 3,000 people shot and so many people dying, I mean, it's worse than some of the places we're hearing about, like Afghanistan, the war-torn nations. I mean, it's more dangerous. So,
well, it does sound, Mr. Trump, like Chicago's going to add, I think I read 1,000 new police officers. So you got more cops on the street, but unless you give them the tools, what are they going to do?
Yeah, no, I think Chicago needs stop and frisk. Now, people can criticize me for that, or people can say whatever they want, but they asked me about Chicago, and I think stop and frisk with good, strong law and order. But you have to do something. It can't continue the way it's going.
Will you explain what that is to my folks down in South Carolina that don't really deal with stop and frisk? What exactly is it, and what are the pros and cons?
Well, there are different levels, and you have somebody coming up who's the expert on it. But basically, they will, if they see they're proactive, and if they see a person possibly with the gun, or they think may have a gun, they will see the person, and they'll look, and they'll take the gun away. They'll stop, they'll frisk, and they'll take the gun away. And they won't have anything to shoot with. I mean, how it's not being used in Chicago is, to be honest with you, it's quite unbelievable. And, the police, the local police, they know who has a gun, who shouldn't be having a gun. They understand that.
Sure. Stop and frisk, for the most part, is where you give cops more power to quiz passersby if there is reasonable suspicion.
That's right, absolutely. And in New York, it took them, I mean, the numbers were unbelievably changed. I don't mean just a little bit. It was, massively changed. And it became a safe city. It went from an unsafe city to a safe city.
That's right. Well, Mr. Trump, moving to politics a little bit, yesterday you must have been pleased to see a set of 3 new Fox News polls coming out of the battleground states of Nevada, North Carolina, and Ohio. We're going to put those numbers up on the screen for our viewers. In Nevada, you now lead Hillary Clinton 43-40. In North Carolina, your lead is at 45-40. And in Ohio, a key battleground state, holding at 42-37. Your reaction to what appears to be a very strong surge in these very important states?
Well, it's great. I mean, I feel really good about that. I just saw that last night, and I'm spending a lot of time in North Carolina, Ohio, and Nevada, and Florida, different places. We're doing well in Florida also, and really, really good. I think we're going to do well in New Hampshire. I think that's going to be really good. I was up there a lot, and we seem to, really resonate in New Hampshire. It's a great place, and so I think we're doing very well.
Yeah. Mr. Trump, coming up on Monday night on all the channels will be the first presidential debate. I know in the media they've been talking about whether or not the moderator, in this case Lester Holt, should he be a moderator and just ask questions, or should he be a fact checker where he asks a question and then if somebody says something that he thinks is wrong, then he's going to interrupt and try to correct the record. What would you like to see, a moderator or a fact checker?
Well, I think he has to be a moderator. I mean, you're debating somebody, and if she makes a mistake or if I make a mistake, we'll take each other on. But I certainly don't think you want Candy Crowley again.
She was wrong.
Well, and she turned out to be wrong. I I really don't think you want that. That was a very pivotal moment in that debate, and it really threw the debate off, and it was unfair. So I don't think you want that. No, I think you have to have somebody that just lets them argue it out. And, you know, I think there's a lot of pressure on Lester. I think Lester's a very good person, a very good man. I think that there's a lot of pressure on him because of Matt Lauer. You know, when I had the town hall, I guess you'd call it, or the forum last week with Hillary, it was, you know, I did well, and I had tough questions, but the polls all had hers taking a drubbing in that one. Now, I will say they went after Matt Lauer. I've never seen anything like it, and I think my questions were harder than her questions, if you want to know the truth. And a lot of pressure is being put on Lester Holt. And, you know, it's Bobby Knight type pressure with the refs, okay? Bobby Knight would go after the refs, and that's what they're doing with Lester Holt, which is, I think, very, very unfair. And a lot of people are watching to see whether or not he succumbs to that pressure.
Yeah.
There are two presidential debates. It's Chris Wallace and Lester Holt, right? Those are the last two.
Three in all.
The third one is the vice presidential.
Four.
Oh.
So we have three debates. We have three debates. Chris is doing the last debate.
Right.
Who's doing the one in the middle?
Anderson Cooper, and you have Martha Raddatz.
There you go. All right, so we got plenty coming up.